Hey guys, I was just letting you know I'm going to wait until we get a couple more people to start talking. So if you have any questions while we're waiting, just let me know. I'm going to wait a couple more minutes before we start just so we can get everybody here. But then probably in the next couple minutes I'm going to go ahead and start talking. So if you have any questions, I would recommend if you can do a split screen for this presentation and pull up your LinkedIn. That would probably be really helpful. Frida Sahid asked, what advice would you give to a student just starting out in cybersecurity? I definitely think that you should find a mentor and you should try and join some associations to really make some contacts with people that can give you advice and help you kind of navigate the journey, because it's a long road, so it helps to have people that can help you out. Alright, I'm going to give about one more minute and then I'm going to go ahead and get started. Alright, so today I will be talking about how to build your digital identity. I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about myself. I am Jessa Gramenz. I'm a student at the University of North Texas in Denton, and I just moved here from St. Louis area, Southern Illinois. I graduated from a 2-year Johnny Logan College, and I decided to come here to continue my journey. And fortunately for me, I was also able to join the NCSA and be an advisory board member. So that has been a really great experience because I've had opportunities to go to conferences and network with people that I wouldn't have had that opportunity otherwise. So Jonathan Joyner says, "Go Mean Green." Are you from UNT? So what I really want to talk about, the most important thing for this presentation is discussing building your brand while you're in college, because you really want to be one step ahead, so whenever you graduate you don't have to go through this process and then have to worry about jobs finding you. If you're building your online presence now, then it helps a lot later down the road because the work's already done for you. So I want to go ahead and remind you guys to subscribe so you receive notifications for whenever we are live again. That way you don't miss any of the important updates that we have. Alright, so in my presentation I'm going to discuss ways to develop your digital identity so that you have jobs coming to you. Since this is a 0% unemployment field, you would think that it would be easy to navigate, but there are difficulties, especially as a student. So since, as a student I've noticed difficulty in maneuvering the process, I found a way to make it a little bit easier, at least in my experience. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to talk about really building your online presence with Twitter, building your online presence with LinkedIn, and then also about networking at conferences and then joining associations, just the experiences that I've had with those and the success that I've had with those. So I first want to talk about Twitter, just because LinkedIn is going to be pretty intense. There's a lot to really develop on LinkedIn. Twitter's pretty quick and easy. LinkedIn's the most important thing, and then I'll get into the other stuff. So you'll definitely want to stick around for the LinkedIn portion. With Twitter, so Twitter has been around for a while. I've been using Twitter since about 2009, and one of the things that I noticed is that it's a great opportunity to stay current with what's going on in cybersecurity. So what I did is I created a professional account. That way, it's separate from my personal account. So I have my personal account where anything goes. And then you have your professional one where, I would recommend, your handle being your first and last name if possible. If that's already taken, then, do your first and last name with cybersecurity or something related to your field. That way, it sets you apart from everybody else. The first thing you want to do whenever you're establishing your Twitter account is follow companies that you like. So if you have a company that you're interested in working for, or you want to kind of get a feel for their culture to see if that's somewhere you'd want to work down the road, it's a great idea to follow them. That way you can get an idea of what they're about. If they have a job opening, then you're one of the first people to find out, because Twitter is so nice about, it's very quick, it's rapid, and it's easy for people to retweet stuff. So one of the things I always do is if I go to a conference, I get business cards. What I'll do is I'll first add them on LinkedIn, and then I'll go on Twitter and I'll look for them. So it's a good way to stay connected so that people see that you're getting involved. And it's really, really useful, I've noticed so far. So the best luck I've had so far with Twitter, with my professional account, is following associations. So one of the other advisory board members, Gus, he shared something from ISSA where they had a conference in Dallas last month. And he shared it, and I was thinking, wow, why have I not heard about this? So I retweeted it, I followed the ISSA, and they sent me a message and they said, hey, do you want to come to the conference? Here's a free registration. And I was just so blown away by that, because it was so easy, and I was so excited because, it's not cheap to go to a conference. So, it's definitely worth it to go out there and, try and connect with these companies and associations and other members. So another thing too is you'll want to make sure you retweet important stuff, because that'll kind of help boost interaction on your Twitter account. Alright, so now we're going to get into the heart of my discussion, which is LinkedIn. So the best thing about LinkedIn is it's like an online platform, so it helps you to take the work out of your job search. Jonathan Joyner says, what if you have an established personal account with a large following, just over 6K already, still start fresh? If your personal account, as long as it's professional, it's fine. I just did that because my personal account wasn't really professional. It was more just for, for fun. So, I mean, as long as it's professional, that's fine. So, so back to LinkedIn. So the best thing about LinkedIn is that it kind of takes the work out of the job search, because LinkedIn has features where you can search for jobs, but then it also isn't immediate, so you have to build your LinkedIn. So whenever I first came to UNT, I had a basic LinkedIn. I had a professional headshot. I had like a headline talking about what I was doing in school. I had some information on there about experience that I had, with the cyber defense team that I was on and the NCSA. But I really didn't have it fully developed to where it said All-Star. It was like right below All-Star. So what happened is whenever I came to UNT, I had 2 classes that really focused on developing your LinkedIn, and those have really taught me a lot. So I'm kind of going to tell you guys about the takeaways that I had, so that you can kind of streamline the approach and you don't have to go through an 8-week or 16-week course. So if you have your LinkedIn open, if you want to search my name, it's kind of hard to spell, but I think it is on the comment section for this presentation. But if you want to look at mine as an example, it's not perfect, but I have received compliments from recruiters and professors. And one of the things is that, I've been building mine for a couple years now. So obviously, the more you build yours, the better it'll get. So hopefully I can kind of help you to build yours a little bit quicker than mine. But the first thing that's most important about LinkedIn is that you want to add everything you can to your profile that's relevant to your field. So, most employers, they're going to look at a 1 or 2 page resume and try and find out what they can. But a lot of times I put my LinkedIn profile link, which I have the URL vanity link, and that's one of those things you can also do. I would look it up, Google it. It only takes a couple minutes to do it. It's a really easy fix. Off the top of my head, I don't remember how to do it, but it's pretty easy to figure out how to do it. But I changed mine to my first and last name. It's really easy to put on a business card or a resume, and it's really nice because then they can find out more information than you can put on a 1 or 2 page resume. So make sure whenever you're adding to your profile, make sure you're putting volunteer work, any of the associations you're with. So for me, I put the NCSA, but I also was Pi Theta Kappa, which is an honor society, for 2 years. I put that. Any of the courses you've taken that are relevant, obviously besides like core classes, publications. So if you've ever presented something, if you've written a paper, you'll want to include that. Any honors or skills, education and experience, all that stuff is important. So put as much as you can, as long as it's relevant. Make sure you're concise, but also be thorough and detailed, because this is the stuff that somebody is intentionally going to your page to see these things. So one thing that I really like about LinkedIn is that you can add your classmates and make connections, and they can recommend you. So whenever you go to graduate and you're thinking, man, that guy I worked with in that group, he would be great to connect with. I don't remember his name. If you connect with them while you're in class with them, it's so much easier to go back and say, oh, okay, I'm going to look at that school, figure out what class that was, and then you can kind of, go from there and figure out who it was. Scott Dinsmore says, what if you were the subject of a cybersecurity related article? You can use that too. I think there's a way, whenever you post publications, I think you can reference it to where, or maybe you can just share it. I'm not sure. I'm not a full expert, but I'm getting there, so hopefully that works. So make sure you add classmates, and you can also ask for a recommendation. If you're not familiar with how to do that, once you go to your LinkedIn page, you can go to whoever you're looking for, click on their page, and there's an arrow. So once you click on that arrow, it'll drop down and it'll give you a couple options, and one says ask for a recommendation. So that's a really good way to have a second input besides like a reference that gives people more input to who you are and how you are to work with, what kind of person you are. So especially if you've done a group project, they can endorse you for teamwork, organization, all kinds of skills, just depending on the project. So make sure you add quality contacts to help build your online reputation. And then if you have a stack of business cards from a conference, make sure you add those people into your LinkedIn, because those are just more resources to help you network. Alright, so with groups. So on LinkedIn we have groups. I'm a member of a lot of groups. I think I'm a member of about 20 groups. And it's really helpful to stay current with what's going on in cybersecurity, in addition to Twitter and email, newsletters, all of those things. Like, they're really important to stay current. So make sure you're joining groups, because the really nice thing about groups is that they give you a second-degree connection. So if you join the ISSA group, or if you join the NCSA group, those connections add to your connection list, if that makes sense. Another feature of groups that I utilize is asking questions. So my mentor has suggested that, he's mentioned the CISO position, and just from talking with him, I really think that's something that I would want to go for. So what I've done is I've gone into my groups and I've asked them questions. What's the best way to approach this? How do I know if that's something that I want to do? And the groups are so helpful, because there's 1,000 members that somebody's likely to say, hey, I'm a CISO, this is the experience I've had, these are some skills that if you want to do that, you're definitely going to have to be able to talk to higher ups, for example, something like that. So make sure with LinkedIn, there's obviously so many things that you can put on your LinkedIn that are important, but you want to make sure the biggest thing is making connections, making that vanity URL on LinkedIn, and utilizing groups, putting as much as you can. Make sure you have a professional headshot too, because if you just have a selfie that you took, it doesn't look as professional as if you have a headshot. If you have like a senior picture or something, even, it doesn't have to be super current, but as long as it's relatively current, that's helpful. And and it's really nice because the reason all of this is so imperative is because recruiters are going on LinkedIn and they're looking for people. So I've actually had 2 recruiters contact me within the last month, I'd say. I've had 3 interviews. One of them was my dream job, and I would have never had that opportunity if it wouldn't have been for my headline, which my headline really stood out for this one guy. He specifically told me, he said, your headline is the reason I contacted you. Obviously you have Palo Alto experience, which is great, but that in combination with the headline, those things really matter. So thanks to the content that I've put on my LinkedIn, I've gotten my first IT job. I start in January, so I'm really excited for that. Oh, Chris Bradley says, Walgreens passport scanned in for profile picture. I don't know if I would recommend using your passport photo. If you have another option, I would definitely go for that. But yeah, I would definitely not use my passport photo. So that's just my opinion. But yeah, so what I say is, like, it's better to have people contacting you about these things because it is really hard as a student to go out and get that first experience. So when you have people contacting you after having so many applications, not even get a call back, and then someone's contacting you and you get the job, like, that's such an amazing feeling. And that's why I'm hoping that I can help you guys so that you guys all have the same thing. Thank you guys. So my second point that I want to move on to is talking about networking with associations, conferences, and other students. So obviously this all kind of ties into the LinkedIn portion, where you want to network with other students and network at conferences and then within associations. And then since you're following this event, I'm assuming that you're a member of the NCSA, which if you're not, you should be, because it's a great resource. We keep you current with all of the everything going on in the industry with conferences and with internships, and we really take the work out of it for you guys. So, and then the ISSA is a great example also because it's an international, it just slipped my mind, International Cybersecurity. I gotta look it up. I'm sorry. It slipped my mind. But yeah, so there's so many different associations. I know just in Dallas, there's the ISSA, ISACA, DC 24214, Dallas Hackers Group, Linux meetups. There are so many specific just to Dallas. But then if you find something in your area, make sure you share that. So it's a really great resource, not only to stay current, but then find a mentor, which is something I wrote an article about on the blog for cyberstudents.org. That I discussed how important it is to have a mentor. So if you haven't read that yet, you should definitely read it because it's been really groundbreaking for me because it's helped me to get to the point that I'm at right now. Jonathan Joyner says IEEE Computer Society has student chapters at a lot of colleges. So yeah, NCSA, we're currently working with different universities trying to get chapters started. There's so many resources. Whenever I say there's associations out there, I mean there are a lot out there. So there's always going to be something for you. And a lot of times with students, students get a student discount. So you definitely you want to check that out. So. And then also in the comments, if you'll notice, we have a couple of people sharing. Gus is here. He's the one that helped me out with the ISSA. Thank you, Gus. So conferences, I want to talk about conferences because this is one of the things that whenever I first started out in cybersecurity, going to school, I didn't realize the value of a conference, and they are really great for networking. They're great for staying current in what's going on. If you can present at a conference, that's always great because that's a great resume builder. But make sure if you're coming to a conference, you dress professionally. Make sure you come prepared. Bring business cards. If you have a resume, bring a resume because you never know if you can bring that to somebody and have them look at that. It's really nice to get an input on that and to see, especially if they have a lot of recruiters, you can ask them, okay, does this look good? Should I change that? What's the verbiage? Does it need to say something different? there are so many different ways to say the same thing, and they can really guide you to kind of shape your resume. And then Gus also said it really helps to build your professional network, which is one of the things I really enjoy with the conferences that I went to. I met Dr. Jo Portillo, which is the director of the NCSA. I met her at WISIS, which is a Women in Cybersecurity conference. This year it's in Arizona. I definitely recommend checking it out if you're interested. I mean, I have had great luck at that one, especially with career opportunities. They have a big career fair. So, check out as many conferences as you can. That's the great thing about the NCSA. We keep you updated on all the conferences and what's coming up. So, always keep a lookout for those with the newsletter. And then researching jobs. So, with all of this tied together, it just kind of helps you to find out, where you want to go, what people are looking for, employers, recruiters, all of that. So if you can really develop, your brand online to where, people can easily figure out who you are, what you've done on one page, it makes it so much easier. And then if you add resources like Twitter and joining associations, stuff like that, it just adds to it. So, it takes the guesswork out of the equation for an employer, because they don't have to say, okay, is this person qualified for the job? They can go to your LinkedIn and see all these presentations. They can see your honors, recommendations, and these are resources that you can't fit on a resume. So if anyone has any questions other than what I've added, I know there's a lot of information, and if anyone needs any more information, I would be glad to help you build your online presence. Why am I following Tom Nidorost? I think I messed that up, I'm sorry. Says, just curious, why are you following so many colleges? Whenever I initially was doing my search, whenever I was trying to figure out what university I wanted to transfer to, I wasn't really set on UNT. So I originally did a lot of research on a bunch of different colleges, and for me, that was a good way to kind of weed out, all right, what is this college about? Is this somewhere I would want to, spend a lot of money and time at? So for me, it was a good way to get more information on a college, and that's why I ended up picking UNT. I really liked UNT, and they jumped out at me and offered me a scholarship, so really can't beat that. But it's good to keep your options open, and the best way to research is by seeing what they're putting out there, and in addition to doing research. That's what it's all about. You're investing in your future. You want to make sure where you go to school is somewhere that you'll be happy with. So, and Gustavo says it also helps to see if any grants that are out there. Oh wait, sorry. It also helps to see if any grants that are out there. Yeah, I think I know what he means. But does anybody else have any questions? I really hope that you guys learned a lot, and I appreciate you sticking around. I hope that I've at least given you some insight into how to develop your digital identity. I know it's not easy, but if you stick with it and you just keep adding to it, hopefully good things will happen for you as well. So thank you all so much, and don't forget to subscribe so that you can see our later events, and happy holidays to all of you.